My name's Mike Hart. I'm the global CIO of Avis & Young. One of the challenges we were facing with our previous CRM was the fact that they didn't speak to one another. But a larger challenge was just the industry perception within commercial real estate of all of our competitors being on either Microsoft Dynamics or Salesforce. And Avis & Young is very much thought of as that challenger brand within the industry, that we do things differently. We think about data, we think about technology, we think about how we go to market with our various products in a different fashion.
Hi, I'm Dave Mattson, CEO of Sandler. We consider ourselves a scaling company, which in my mind means that we're never satisfied with what we did last year. We're always competing against the large mega organizations, so we've got to make sure that we're always looking for the smartest way to do things. We're always looking for where the puck is going to go to in our industry, which is constantly changing. But that's why we went with HubSpot, because they allowed us that flexibility. As the industry changes, we didn't have to change platforms.
So if I look back 4 months before we rolled out the HubSpot instance, we had about 1,600 users in North America, of which we only had 23% adoption, and that was of the existing Salesforce platform. When you have only 23% of your revenue producers using a CRM, it's ultimately a loss. It's ultimately something that is not adding value to the overall organization. In the last 4 months, we've actually already gotten it up to a 90% adoption rate amongst those 1,600 brokers.
Nobody wakes up as a leader saying, today's the day that I've got to change a platform. But we were at a point where, as you start to look at all of our offices throughout the world, you needed a single view, and we had huge data gaps actually, and we needed to expand that. A CRM should be your best friend. It should be a silent sales manager. It should be a silent salesperson that's helping you, a coach on your shoulders, giving you the information that you need to run a business. And that's really what HubSpot allowed us to do by giving us the data so we could make those decisions. And we felt very confident, and we had that conviction that we were heading in the right direction. So that's really what it did for us.
Greetings and welcome to Inbound 2021. Thanks for joining, and a special thanks to HubSpot customers and partners all over the world. Now, I had hoped we could be together in person this time, which is ironic because I'm not really an in-person kind of guy. I follow the pajama principle. If an activity requires me to change out of my pajamas, I avoid it on principle. But even for an introvert like me, the pandemic has been challenging. We've spent a large amount of time with a small number of people. Relationships have been tested, behaviors have been shaped, and in my case, a copious amount of pizza was consumed. This led to what I'll call some personal growth, about 11 pounds worth. To offset this, I bought a standing desk. Well, in theory, it's a standing desk. In practice, I've never actually stood at it. I prefer sitting. But as it turns out, in order to get the benefits of a standing desk, one has to actually stand. Who knew? If only fitness tracking were a thing. On the other hand, there's my son, Sohan. This is a photo of him when he's 2 years old, beta testing the latest iOS. Sohan is geeky and indoorsy, just like me. But Sohan's 10 years old now, and he's been cooped up for months because of the pandemic. And so his indoorsiness was overcome by his desperation to get some time away from the parental units. So Sohan decided to try boating camp. This is where he learned kayaking and sailing with a bunch of other equally desperate kids. Sohan enjoyed boating camp much more than my wife and I thought he was going to, or that he thought he was going to. But then one day Sohan got back from camp and said the words that I found super scary. We need to talk. Daddy, some of the older kids at camp have been using age-inappropriate words. And yes, Sohan uses phrases like age-inappropriate. So I sat him down, I said, Sohan, you're gonna hear these words your entire life. Everyone makes their own choices. Just because they're using these words doesn't mean that you have to use those words. So we had a good chat. Hashtag pretty good parenting. Now, the scariest form of we need to talk is when it's followed by about our relationship. We need to talk about our relationship. Have you ever gotten those words in a text or an email? Or even worse, in person? Usually when someone says that to you in person, they want to talk. Like right now, in real life. Talking about relationships can be uncomfortable. But as my hero Ted Lasso would say, it's like riding a horse. If you're comfortable while doing it, you're probably doing it wrong. And speaking of doing things wrong, we have some work to do on our customer relationships, and it's holding back our growth. In a recent study, it was found that 27% of people had a customer experience that was so frustrating that it ruined their day. And 1 out of 10 had such a bad time that it made them cry or nearly cry. We're talking tears here. Last time I cried is when someone put black olives on my pizza. Who would do that? But there's good news. This is something we can work on and we can improve. But we all have to get on board, and we have to start with a conversation. So I'm going to say, on behalf of all customers everywhere, the 4 dreaded words. We need to talk. We need to talk about how this relationship is so one-sided. The only time you reach out to me is when you want something. It's always about you and never about me. Now, it's understandable that customers feel this way. The CRM is usually just something the salespeople use, and making customers happy is a customer support team's problem. In many companies, customers sit at the periphery of the organization. Instead, they should be the center of focus for every team across the entire company. Now, one of the things that gets in the way of customer centricity is something I call funnel vision. It's like tunnel vision, but it cleverly uses the word funnel, and it's even less fun. With funnel vision, customers become so myopically focused on converting prospects into leads and leads into customers, and then they stop there. There's a better model. It's called the flywheel. With the flywheel, instead of just doing a prospect to lead and lead to customer, it continues in a virtuous loop, and you convert customers into delighted advocates, people that are so happy with their experience that they will tell their friends and colleagues. This leads to, well, more leads. Now, some of you are probably thinking, wait a second, didn't Brian introduce the idea of the flywheel at Inbound 2018? Yes, he did. So why am I bringing it up now? The reason is, at HubSpot, we have embraced the flywheel in a big way. The largest team at HubSpot is the flywheel team, and it consists of marketing, sales, and customer service. And we hired our first chief customer officer to lead that team. And this has worked wonders for us in terms of aligning everyone around solving for the customer. So if you want productive customer relationships, stop forcing your customers into a funnel and think flywheel. And to get that flywheel really spinning well, you have to delight customers. And it turns out a generic, impersonal experience just doesn't delight. So here's what non-delighted customers have to say. We need to talk. We need to talk about how you don't even know me. I know you have other customers, but I want to feel special. I want to feel understood. I want to feel connected. So why do customers feel disconnected from us? The culprit is this insidious, sinister thing I call the underpants gnomes effect. Now, I can't take credit for this Harvard-worthy, brilliant business concept. It's adapted from a South Park episode, a source of so much business wisdom. The underpants gnomes are these little gnomes that go to great lengths to steal people's underpants. Not just new underpants, all underpants, like no underpants left behind. Here's their grand master plan. Phase 1, collect underpants. Phase 2, question mark. Phase 3, profit. So they accumulate this giant pile of underpants and they have no idea what to do with them. companies have a similar problem, but instead of collecting underpants, they collect customer data. And of course, the goal shouldn't be to just collect customer data. The goal should be to use that data to deliver a more customized, more connected customer experience. So why do companies fall prey to the underpants gnomes effect? To understand this phenomena better, we need to take a look at the evolution of CRM. Way back in 1993, a software company called Siebel launched the first legit CRM, or customer relationship management system. They took every customer and made it a record in the database. So now the entire company had this shared system of record. Super useful. The problem was that you had to buy your own hardware and then install the Siebel software on it like a caveman. 7 years later, Salesforce came along, and they had a brilliant insight. There was this thing called the internet, and all the computers were connected to it. And you could use the internet to deliver software better. Hence came the first cloud CRM. Subsequently, all CRMs, or most CRMs, are on the cloud now. 7 years after that, HubSpot came along, and we had a novel insight ourselves. There's this thing called the internet, and not only are computers connected to it, but people are connected to it too, including customers. And we could use the internet not just to deliver software better, but to deliver a more connected customer experience. Now, what do I mean by a more connected customer experience? Well, number one, the CRM should connect teams within your company. Marketing, sales, and service should all be on one unified system. Two, it's not enough just to connect teams within your company. You should connect your company to its customers. Customers want to have a window into their relationship with you. They want to be able to log in and view their data and interact with it. They want to be able to self-service when appropriate. Customers don't want to just have an emotional connection with you. They want to actually have a real digital connection. And third, it's not enough just to connect teams within your company and your company to its customers. You also need to connect customers to each other. This builds trust because customers gain confidence when they can talk to other customers. But more importantly, by connecting customers to each other, they can get the most out of your product or service because they can learn from other customers. HubSpot's investing in this in a big way with something we call the HubSpot Network. The HubSpot Network connects the millions of people in the HubSpot ecosystem so they can discover each other, learn together, and help each other grow better. So, some of you are thinking, okay, that all sounds awesome, but we just are not able to do this at my company. Now, the issue may be the systems. We need to talk. We need to talk about the effing systems. And no, I'm not using a word from Sohan's expanded boating camp vocabulary. I'm talking about the franken system. The franken system is a CRM monstrosity cobbled together with software parts, applications built by different people in different companies with different design goals. It's the result of decades of mergers and acquisitions. And frankly, it's a disjointed, bolted together mess. Too many databases and too many core applications that all do things their own way. There's no consistency, there's no cohesion, and ultimately, there's no control. No control. Now, it's fine. Companies tell themselves late at night, and it is fine. If you're a Fortune 1000 company with tens of thousands of employees and you have an army of CRM consultants with pitchforks and process diagrams, it's fine. But for the rest of us, it's not fine. Because a franken system causes us to spend all of our time trying to tame the monster instead of taking care of our customers. Now, if you have a franken system, let me say, it's not your fault. I'm giving you a virtual hug right now. It's not your fault. Nobody intentionally unleashes a franken system in their company. It just sort of sneaks in and it grows. And then it makes it much harder for your company to grow. And the result of a franken system is a frustrating, disjointed experience and very, very annoyed customers. Customers like me. So recently, I leased a Volvo, sight unseen, over the web. Now, you know I'm a parent, not because I got a Volvo, but because I was excited to get a Volvo. And honestly, the purchasing experience was awesome. I didn't have to talk to a single carbon-based life form. And then it came time to make my first monthly payment. Instinctually, I pulled up the Volvo app. No dice. The app can beam signals into space and unlock my car from 3 continents away, but it won't let me send Volvo money. So I go back to the website where I leased the Volvo. Strike out there too. Evidently, it's a marketing and sales website, not a send Volvo money website. Pro tip, commerce and payments are a big part of the connected customer experience, and commerce is all about convenience. So I Google it up. Evidently, there's another website for payments called volvofinancialservices.com. Yep, that's the actual super catchy website name. So I try to register. It asks me for an account number. I have no idea what that is or where to find it. And Volvo's online knowledge base was not helpful primarily because of its complete absence. So out of desperation, I contact Volvo. To their credit, they respond promptly. The account number is in the letter that we mailed you. The letter that you mailed me? I responded, I have no such letter. Is there another way? What I should have said was, the 1900s called on their rotary phone and they want their fountain pen and parchment paper back. Volvo responded, no problem. You can call our customer service department with your vehicle identification number. They can use the VIN to then look up your account number, and you can use your account number to then register for the website, and then you can use the website to then submit a payment. Now, I'm going to spare you the details of what happened after that because it might make me cry, or nearly cry. This is a ridiculous but true example of what happens when you have a franken system in place. Your teams are disconnected and your customers are disconnected from the company. The dream is to have a single, unified, cohesive, uncomplicated CRM. A CRM that was built for creating a customer-centric, connected, and customized experience. A CRM that was built by people that care, with consistent design goals, one of the primary goals being easy to use by actual humans. That's the dream. And speaking of dreams, we need to talk. We need to talk about the future. It's fun to dream and to imagine where the world could go. So let's geek out a bit on the evolution of the web and how we got here. Way back in the 1990s, when Volvo first started mailing letters with account numbers, we got the first generation of the web, and the potential was mind-blowing. It made me giddy with excitement and gave me goosebumps. That early web was read-only. In order to put content on the web, you had to know HTML and FTP and other acronyms, or you had to have a distant cousin that worked at Best Buy and knew Dreamweaver. But with this early web, businesses could take their marketing brochures and turn them into websites. And sure, some of these early websites had ugly colors and blinking text, but they were an important first step towards creating a connection with the customer in a way that brochures never could. Fast forward 15 years. It's 2005. Brian and I are classmates in graduate school. This was the time that Web 2.0 came on the scene. Web 2 was the new thing. It was read-write. You didn't have to be a technical wizard in order to get content on the web. Even mere muggles could do it. This made me giddy with excitement. Goosebumps again. And Brian was excited too. And that's what led us to start HubSpot. Now, some have speculated that we started HubSpot just so we'd have a place to play ping pong. It wasn't that. Well, it wasn't just that. With Web 2 came this massive shift in buyer behavior, and change equals opportunity. And what we saw was that businesses could now create a blog. They could engage in social media, and they could otherwise add value to customers before they tried to extract it. We called this process inbound marketing, and it was a game changer. So over the past 15 years, I haven't really felt that same level of giddy excitement. No goosebumps like I had with Web 1 and Web 2. Until now. Now I'm feeling this massive shift that feels even bigger than the shift from Web 1 to Web 2. But before we jump in, a quick cautionary note. This segment is rated FP, Future Predicting. I'm going to give you a peek into what I think the future might look like. It's not a peek into the HubSpot product roadmap. You'll see some of the amazing progress the HubSpot product team has made on our CRM platform in just a few minutes. Okay, so what has me giddy with excitement? What's giving me goosebumps now, 15 years later? It's what some are calling, wait for it, Web 3. Shocking, I know. We techies are super awesome at creatively naming things. Here's what has me excited about Web 3. Web 1 was about information. Web 2 was about interaction. Web 3 is about decentralization. It's about putting power back in the hands of the people. It's the way the web was always meant to be. Now, some of you probably have a few questions. 1, what the heck is he talking about? 2, why should I care? And 3, what should I do? Great questions. In the current Web 2 model, your data is split up and fragmented and owned and controlled by a handful of massive tech companies running massive networks. In a decentralized Web 3 world, you own and control your data. Data like your purchase history, your preferences, your connections, your credentials. You own and control all this data. So you get to decide which companies that data gets shared with. And if anyone's getting paid for access to that data, it's you. Now, some of you are wondering, okay, that sounds fine. Why should I care? How does this matter to my business? The reason we should all care is because this new Web3 model will provide us a new, direct way to forge connections with our customers and our prospective customers. Instead of advertising to the masses that we know little about over these big networks, we can forge direct connections with prospective customers, and we can give them a customized experience based on data they willingly share with us. It's a much more efficient and much more trustworthy model. Now, this future is still years away, but the pieces are already starting to fall into place. We have cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, decentralized application platforms like Ethereum, and decentralized social networks like BitClout. These all give us a glimpse into the future that's coming. So what should you be doing? Don't worry, I'm not going to suggest that you start moving all your data to the blockchain or that you start buying Bitcoin. What I am going to suggest is you embrace the idea that we're in the age of the customer. Embrace the idea that over time, customers are going to have more and more power, and they're going to be equal partners in their relationship with us. That's what the future looks like. Now, the future is awesome, but it's still the future. And chances are you're kind of thinking about how to grow today. So let's come back from the future, get out of our time-traveling DeLoreans, and let's recap what we talked about in terms of customer relationships. Here are things no customer has ever said. You know, I'd love to introduce myself to you for the 43rd time. I've been meaning to get to know as many people in your company as possible. Transfer me to whoever you want. You know what this relationship needs is more management. Customers don't want more management, they want more magic. They want to experience a moment that makes them smile. They want to tweet about a company, not at a company. They want to feel connected. And our businesses want that too. Your growth over the long term is a function of how much customers love the experience you give them. So give them an experience that makes them stand up from their sitting desks, brush aside their pizza, and to gush with friends over coffee about how awesome the experience was. It's time to abandon funnel vision, put to rest the franken systems, and put aside the frustrating underpants gnomes effect. Your CRM platform should help you deliver a better connected, more customized experience that's focused on the customer. The CRM should put the customer first in the design, not just in the acronym, because better customer relationships lead to delighted customers, and that's what fuels all of our flywheels. That's how we grow better. And with that, I'd like to introduce members of the HubSpot product leadership team. They'll be talking about the HubSpot CRM platform and the development that's happened this year. I could not be more thrilled with the progress they've made in helping you deliver on the dream of customer relationship magic. Thank you.
Wasn't it great to hear from Dharmesh about the history of CRM? To me, it is just fascinating, the ups and downs and twists and turns this market has taken. I am so excited to be here with all of you in person, in the office, to talk about how HubSpot is going to move CRM forward into sort of the new era.
Yeah, one of the things I loved about that was thinking about how we want HubSpot to evolve. And, we want to be the #1 CRM for scaling companies. And for us, that means a couple things. It means it's got to be customizable, it's got to be well connected, and it's got to be customer centric. And we want to focus on end users to do that. We want to build for the people who are using HubSpot every single day.
Totally, yeah. Even more than that, I think it's so cool how we keep a focus also on how do people want to shop and buy, and how can we build a product that's going to help our customers get there.
That's right.
How many customers have we all talked to that just feel totally trapped by whatever they've done with CRM in the past? It's either they were too scared to get started, they're too scared to move off of it, they've created a monster in some ways, and I don't know, it's pretty scary out there sometimes.
Yeah, totally. You get into a world where the CRM has been customized to the point where it's like a Rube Goldberg machine, and no one even understands how it works anymore. Everyone's afraid to make changes to it, and so you absolutely need customization in the way that you set up your CRM and your customer database. You need it to reflect your business, your customer. You need it to make it work for your company. You need to be thoughtful about the way that you bring that customization into the system.
There's a big difference with a crafted platform that's built to work together. It really makes a big difference in how you're able to use it, how your teams are able to interact really smoothly and have an efficient process.
When we think about customizing the CRM, we don't just want to make it easy to customize the database part of the CRM, we also want to make it easy to customize the CRM for the users that are using the CRM. We think about the end user who's using the CRM, like a salesperson or a support person or a marketer who's in there every single day. We also think about the admin who's setting it up. We not only want to make it easy for the end user, we also want to make it easy for the admin. And then we want to make it easy for the admin to make it easy for the end user, in the way that they're setting up the system. I think an example of that is the way that we've created permission templates. So it becomes easier for an admin to add users into the system because they can use these templates. And then once they add the users get set up faster, and the experience is natural for them in the product because they're able to see the things that they're supposed to see and they're not distracted by the things that they're not supposed to see.
Most customers I've talked to have gone about this in two ways, right? One, they've sort of cobbled this together on their own with whatever is out there. Or two, they've gone with some platform that has cobbled a bunch of stuff together. And I don't know, I like to call it the cobbling tax, where no matter what you do, there's a tax to pay. And I think that's where we're really coming in with this crafted approach, and it has a big impact on customers and developers and their customers. There's a lot of sort of runway there.
That's really important because, we know for a fact that the more people at your company who are using HubSpot beyond your sales team, the more likely companies are to grow, have better, higher customer retention, better customer satisfaction scores. And that's why this crafted approach is so critical.
That data was fascinating. If sales, marketing, and service all use a CRM, you will grow faster and your customers will be happier. I thought that was incredible and really validating of doing CRM right.
Absolutely.
Going forward, this customization is going to be key. So each of our customers is going to need to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. So both an amazing experience and a unique experience that can really help people remember them and help them stand out. And we keep saying crafted, not cobbled. And I always want to call out that that doesn't mean that HubSpot builds everything for everyone. So our ecosystem is a huge part of this. If you need to use other solutions alongside HubSpot, we want that to feel seamless too. So we're really focused on the developer experience and on having the integrations in our marketplace and the apps that will help users bring the tech stack together, bring those things inside of HubSpot so that the user's workflow and the user's day-to-day feels very connected and very seamless.
We want to let people build experiences that don't look like their systems, right? The experience that your customers have shouldn't look like the way you have your software stack set up. It should look like a really compelling end-to-end experience with a full view of the customer.
Exactly.
Typically, when you hear about customization, it's about the developer and making anything possible, and that's sort of what people thought about. And I think if you have the customer in mind and their customer in mind, that's when you really bring out the magic. You make the end user experience more consumer grade.
Right.
You make the developer experience a thing that can be transferred through to those folks. And so I feel like it's a very unique thing that's happening, and we call it the greatest magic trick in software history. That's one of my favorite things to say. So to me, it's really exciting.
It is. It's breaking the tyranny of or. Like, we can do both of those things. And when we think about customization without complexity for the admin, for the ops person, for the developer, part of that is enabling them to test these customizations before they go live. So we're offering a sandbox that's a very production-like environment that's going to enable those folks to do a little test drive and to make sure that it's going to work the way they thought it would before they go ahead and push it live. I am so excited that HubSpot is introducing sandboxes for our most advanced customers. As companies scale, their business gets more complex. So their CRM is going to get more complex. They'll have more properties, they'll have more workflows, they'll have more happening inside of HubSpot. Therefore, the impact of a change may not be obvious. So having a sandbox environment allows them to see things that might have been unexpected before data gets wiped out or someone's workflow is all messed up in production.
In a lot of ways, the things that you're automating with HubSpot workflows are things that would have been manual processes before. The things that you're building on top of HubSpot are things that are reducing work for the people who are working out of HubSpot. And that goes back to trying to make HubSpot easier, trying to make HubSpot consumer grade.
When it comes to delivering a more connected experience for our customers, we've made a ton of improvements to our CRM platform. You know, last year at Inbound, I remember Brian and Dharmesh talked about this RevOps persona, this operations, person who was doing a lot of work in HubSpot and was in a lot of pain, couldn't really connect their systems and their process very well. And this year we've really invested in solving for them. And that's why we launched Operations Hub.
Yeah, we realized there was this whole other group of people working in the company who either had the title or maybe don't have the title yet, but are growing into the title of operations. And they spend a lot of their time actually being the people who are connecting data, being the people who are building the business process, and being the people who are doing reporting off of all the data inside of HubSpot. And so this year with Operations Hub, one of the big things we wanted to focus on was making it easier to connect to a bunch of different systems, because once you can get your data, just because you have the structure to get your data in HubSpot doesn't mean that your data is going to be in HubSpot or going to be in your CRM. And so we wanted to make it really easy with our sync framework, which is a part of Operations Hub, to allow people to connect systems into HubSpot in a better way than they were doing it before.
Ops people are the glue of the CRM in a lot of ways, right? And so I think that this crafted approach that we have actually empowers ops people probably better than any other platform, right? You go in, you can code a workflow action, and it can impact something from marketing to sales to service pretty instantaneously without having to sort of hack something together across multiple systems. And so I feel like we're doing a great job empowering these ops people to maybe come out of some of the shadows that they've been in, sort of lurking in the code base somewhere, and being able to do it in a really, really easy way.
And that's really the point of trying to solve for front office teams and the end user. We just want to make their lives easier. We want to make them better at their jobs and make them more efficient.
Earlier this year, when we launched Operations Hub, we were thinking about empowering operations teams to build the platform and the process that their companies need on top of HubSpot. So that meant connecting systems, bringing data in from different systems, and building a business process on top of that data. On November 1st, when we launch Operations Hub Enterprise, we want to take that to the next level, and we want to give operations teams the tools they need to both manage their data and do reporting on their data inside of HubSpot. what oftentimes starts with a reporting problem that a company has actually turns into a data problem, right? Like either the data is not there, the data is not good enough quality for them to build a report on top of. And so what you realize is a lot of these companies, and especially the operations people in these companies, need better tools with which they can manage the data, right? And so with Operations Hub Enterprise, we're launching a new system inside of HubSpot called data sets, where operations teams can manage their data, they can do calculations on top of their data, and then they can save these data sets that can be reused by everybody downstream, which is really powerful for operations teams.
It's powerful for operations teams, but it's also powerful for folks like marketers, sales reps, support reps. They have access to the data without having to manipulate it themselves. Super, super powerful. And again, that's what our goal is in terms of making HubSpot really easy to use for those folks.
With all of these improvements, like the launch of Operations Hub, custom behavioral events, the data sync framework, the new connectors built on the data sync framework, the report builder, the custom data set builder, we've created a CRM that lets you connect all of your data, channels, and teams in the same system to create a better experience for your customers.
Some of the magic of Crafted Not Cobbled is not just the fact that, yes, it's all working off the same database and we built marketing tools, sales tools, service tools, ops tools, all those things, but it's these glue features that really tie it all together and allow people to self-serve. And the more power we can give to folks, the better they can be at their jobs.
I don't think it's lip service either. We have a bunch of data that shows that when people think of the CRM as like the heart of their business, they're also more successful. That's pretty compelling as well, right? If you end up having a bunch of systems of record, you end up getting in trouble. But if you really orient around the CRM, I think it breaks down the silos of the different parts of the org. It lets people connect everything together. It can be pretty powerful.
Yeah, as much as the CRM is that customer database and you have your sales team, your marketing team, your services team working out of that, the thing that we've seen is that companies continue to have tools outside of the CRM, and that trend is only going to increase over time. Companies are going to have more and more of those tools, and it's so important to have those systems connected into your central customer database, and that's what makes HubSpot so easy to use. And I think now we have like over 800 apps in the app marketplace. With the launch of Operations Hub, we now have like 50 plus of those apps are powered by our data sync framework. And with workflow extensions, we've got 60 apps that are integrated into workflow, so now you can actually power those external systems like with HubSpot based off of your customer data.
Yeah, no, it's really getting to be an incredible experience, both for the developers that have to build those things, and then for the users within the company that get to take advantage of that connectedness. Yeah, to be able to sync in a way that's consistent, that's configurable, that really gets the data in the way that you need it, has been revolutionary.
One thing I want to make sure we talk about is just sort of the customer part of CRM. I feel like a lot of CRMs in the past have left the C out of CRM. All of us are consumers in our own right. We have totally shifted the way that we buy a lot of things. Our expectations are through the roof. And I think CRMs need to represent that, right? Many CRMs don't have as many self-service options as you might like for the end customer. They don't have commerce as part of the CRM. And those are things that I'm excited about launching this time around. I think we need to put the C back in CRM and think about not just the people inside your company that are using it, but the people who are actually interacting with what you're trying to sell and interacting with those people.
That's right. The way that people are buying and shopping is different now, and we want to really meet that need. And so what you're talking about is not just us building a really easy to use CRM, but the fact that that can be extended to the customer's customer, to give them an incredible experience.
A lot of people have traditionally thought of like CMS as being something different than CRM, right? But when you think about customer relationship management, now a lot of that customer relationship is happening through the web, right? It's happening through those experiences that you're creating for customers. You want things to be more self-service. I want things to be self-service. The average person, wants to be able to do things themselves, and that's exactly what you can do with HubSpot CMS working with HubSpot CRM.
Talk about the self-service portal, because building that on the CMS connected to the CRM, I think is a really great example of this coming together.
Our Service Hub is probably the biggest ingredient to creating a great customer experience. You think about when somebody buys from you, what happens after that? Service Hub is there to make that process easy and seamless. And we've launched a couple things that are really going to help there. First one is our customer portal. The customer portal is basically a mini website that your customers can log into to see the status of their tickets. And the reason it's so easy and powerful is because it's built on our CMS. And that means you can log in and there's templates already set up for you to be able to create a portal, whatever design you want to use, or you can use one of our designs. It doesn't require any developers, it doesn't require any custom code. It's something that you can set up very, very quickly and provide value to your customers right away.
It makes intuitive sense too, that like as when we think about our own experiences as customers, we expect to have, when we have any interaction with a company, whether it's visiting a website or talking to a salesperson, we expect that full view of all the interactions we've had with a company to be there so they can give us contextual information.
That's so true. Customer expectations have risen so high. Like regardless of what company they're dealing with, they expect a seamless, clean, useful experience. You could be a small company, you could be a giant company. They have that same expectation regardless of your resources.
And so when you were talking about building these really seamless digital experiences that are now an expectation, having that data all in one place is a game changer.
Customer expectations around digital experiences have just increased so much. A lot of what drives those cobbled experiences is because businesses have let their systems define what's possible rather than thinking about what's the great experience they want to build and then being able to build that.
There's a lot of things you can do across the journey, and I think we'll continue to innovate there. I'm excited about Service Hub. This year's launches are going to be great, and there'll be a lot more to come there. All right, let's talk about payments for a second, because there's a lot of pain around this whole buyer experience and buying in general. I typically see two things when we talk to customers. First, they are not offering to sell things online when they probably could and should. I think most businesses could sell something online.
Everybody could.
Totally.
Absolutely.
And when they are selling things through sales reps, that experience is pretty painful. There's hoops to jump through, whether it's Excel or an accounting system or an ERP system or something like that. And so HubSpot Payments is going to simplify that. The B2B buying process has been broken for quite a while. I typically see two things that customers are doing. First, they're actually not selling anything online, even though their customers probably want them to. The second thing is, with their rep-assisted selling process, there's a lot of hoops to jump through, both for the sales rep and the end user. And we really want to go at the heart of those two problems with this really simple payments and commerce offering. HubSpot Payments is a capability that allows our customers to do just what it sounds like, collect payments as part of the HubSpot offering. And so what we've done here is we've taken this critical capability that's often sitting across a bunch of disparate systems and embedded it natively into HubSpot. You can pull right from your product library, turn a product into a payment link, and put it wherever you want. You stay in HubSpot, you turn it on, and you can start collecting payments today.
I think there's a lot of companies that don't think about selling online because they think it's not for them. They think like, oh, I'm not like a traditional e-commerce company, so I shouldn't be thinking about this. A lot of them think that way because even though there might be a touchless side of the experience, there's also, a side where you are interacting with a person in order to buy something, and it's hard to think for them to think about bridging that gap. And that's exactly what payments does inside of HubSpot.
These are critical parts of the customer experience that have just been sort of off to the side for so long, and that's what makes it so great that we're bringing them all together.
And consumer grade. You have so many tools at your disposal to make it compelling, to make it meet these very high expectations that customers today have.
My challenge to most of our customers is pick something that you can sell online and start it. You could start it today, and it's going to make a huge difference for your buyer experience.
What I love about that feature is that it really meets the challenge of how businesses need to adapt today, and we're filling that need.
I think Brian said it last year, how you sell is why you win, and we're really bringing that to life here. I think this is going to be really, really important. And a thing that's been missing from CRM for a long time. Commerce has to be part of CRM or else it's not a CRM.
Yeah.
We are trying to rethink and reformulate what a CRM should be, right? There was a baseline of things that everybody thought was in CRM, and then as the market evolved, people started adding more and more capabilities and point solutions, and we think like there's just a new baseline. A modern CRM needs to have certain things, and then there's still lots of room for partners and extensibility and customization and all that. So I think we are sort of leading the way on the new sort of wave here.
You shouldn't have to work for your CRM. Your CRM should just work for you.
Yeah,
and
totally.
That's our vision for the future.
Wow, hearing all those amazing product announcements gets me so fired up. Hey everyone, I'm Andrew Lindsay. I lead business and corporate development at HubSpot. And I'm really pleased to be here with Yamini and Brian to chat with you all today. Good to see you both.
Great to see you.
Good to be here.
Great. And I wish we could be in person with all of you. But live from Boston, it's Inbound 2021. Now, Brian.
Yes.
Let's get right into it. I got a question. It's actually for you first, Brian. And it's something that has been top of mind for me. And I know I'm not the only one wondering about this.
Okay.
Many people are wondering about this. You had a snowmobile accident, 13 broken bones,
Yes.
many surgeries,
Yes.
long recovery time. What did you binge watch during all that time?
You started off with a hard ball. There was one show that I get into during my healing period. It wasn't a super popular show, and it was a little heady. You probably didn't see it, Andrew.
Try me.
Ted Lasso?
Ted Lasso. I know Ted Lasso.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I know Ted Lasso. But you know who really loves Ted Lasso?
No.
Dharmesh.
Oh,
Dharmesh
yeah.
loves Ted Lasso.
Yeah, geeky minds think alike.
Well, now that we've given people and myself what I really wanted to know,
Yep.
I'd love to hear about some of the changes, some of the transitions, right? And Yamini, I'd love to hear about what that was like when you first got the call and learned that you're going to be the CEO of HubSpot.
Well, first off, Brian, so glad that you're back and you are stronger than ever and you're back in full force. So that's great. And by the way, I love Ted Lasso. I haven't watched the season finale of the last season, so no spoilers this week from anybody.
All right, we'll be
I just
careful.
want to keep it clean. And I think it's a requirement to be a Ted Lasso fan, to be on like HubSpot's leadership team. But Andrew, the call that Brian and I had, it was surreal. Brian calls me up one evening and we start chit-chatting. We're going back and forth, and then he says, we need to talk about our relationship. The dreaded words, you know. I was like, oh no, where's this going? And you know what he does? He actually like whips out a presentation and starts walking me through his decision-making process. And this is the first time that my boss has ever actually presented to me. So, you know, I was very emotional. I have to say, I think, first of all, there is the enormity of stepping into a role right after Brian as the CEO. Brian's a legend, and I have tremendous amount of respect for what Brian and Dharmesh have built here at HubSpot. And then second, I got really emotional thinking about my journey to this point. You know, I grew up in a super small town in rural South India, did not have a high school, but don't worry, I did complete my high school. We moved towns. From there to being an engineer, to a salesperson, to a customer-focused executive, my life has been through a lot of twists and turns. And so it was especially emotional and very thrilling at the same time. And I can tell you, I'm like so excited to be here at HubSpot, leading the next chapter of growth. And I'm very committed. I'm very committed to being the kind of leader that HubSpot's customers, partners, employees, and all of you deserve.
I got a little dusty on my side of the Zoom too.
I can imagine.
I know.
That was an emotional call. That was nice. That was a really nice moment.
Yeah. That's quite a transition. And you transitioned as well, Brian.
Yes.
Let's hear about some of the thinking that went into that.
Yeah. So I started, it sort of crossed my mind literally back when I was in the hospital 7 months ago. And the thing that was in my mind was I'm a starter. You know, I started HubSpot 15 years ago with HubSpot, and I've been CEO. It's going great, but it's a different animal. I mean, we have thousands of employees, hundreds of thousands of customers, billions in revenue. Like, this is a much larger scale company, and I've never seen that movie before. So that was sort of one side of my head. And then I was thinking a little bit about Yamini sort of on the other side of my head, and I was like, well, one of the reasons I hired her, she worked in companies at much bigger scale than HubSpot, so she had seen that movie. And then I watched over the next 7 months while I was on leave, and she was running the company for me. And not only didn't she miss a beat, I think she picked up a couple beats while I was out. She just did a fantastic job. She's super focused on the customer, super focused on scale. She's not just a culture fit, she's a culture add. So at some point, it just became a no-brainer. Like, this is going to be great for our customers, great for our partners, great for our employees, great for the community. Yamini's going to be CEO. I'm going to be able to work on the stuff I'm passionate about. We work great together. And so I'm super excited and super confident in Yamini in the next phase in HubSpot.
Thank you so much, Brian. Means a lot.
Yeah.
And I know I speak for the whole company, Yamini, when I say we're really excited to have you as our CEO.
Thank you,
Really
Andrew.
excited.
Thank you.
And your experience scaling companies combined with Brian's experience and Dharmesh's experience, founding the business, growing the business to the stage it is today, it's just an incredible win for the entire HubSpot community.
I think so.
It's really awesome. One thing I want to switch gears for a moment. We as a company spend a lot of time thinking about customer expectations, right? How it's changing, how it's evolving. And Brian, I'd love to hear from you to start what you see changing with customer expectations.
Yeah. I think you know this about me, but I have a very odd hobby. I consider myself like an amateur anthropologist, like an armchair anthropologist. Now, most armchair anthropologists, Andrew, they study like the migratory patterns of birds. I'm a little different. I like to study the migratory patterns of buyers. And I'm really obsessed about this. And from my new job as chairman, I have a whole new perch to study this kind of thing going forward. I'm really excited. And we're right at the beginning of a major migratory change for buyers. And I think what's like the way I kind of think about it in my head is B2B buyers, business buyers, are starting to look a lot more like B2C buyers.
Yep.
And I think about B2C buyers, and 25 years ago, it was a big deal if you went and spent 25 bucks on a book online. And now people are spending 25 grand on cars online like this, like Dharmesh bought his Volvo online, the whole thing. And business to business buyers are turning more into business consumer buyers. They expect a delightful end-to-end, gorgeous, delicious experience buying that product from their vendors. And so that's a huge, huge change that's underfoot right now. And, you know, the funny thing about Dharmesh's presentation that I love, and, you know, I know him very well, is he's not a big fan of carbon-based life forms. I actually like carbon-based life forms.
Thank you.
But I think if I had advice for our customers and partners, it's how do we get a little bit of that carbon-based life form out of that buying process? How do we lower the friction in the buying process? How do we use technology to accelerate it? And how do we enable them to create those delicious buying experiences for their customers? And I think everyone's got to move from this old school way of thinking that it's a very linear, funnel-based go-to-market model to a very circular, flywheel-based, not go-to-market model, but, you know, customer experience model. So I think we're at the beginning of that shift. And companies that are forward-looking that can take advantage of that, I think will thrive in the next 5-10 years.
Got it. Very interesting. And I got to tell you, I love carbon-based life forms. And the fact that we can be sitting here together as carbon-based life forms, it's really awesome.
You know, Dharmesh isn't here.
I know. I was surprised.
For a reason.
And now, Yamini, I want to ask you, because I know we talk about customer expectations, and you're customer obsessed, right? I've seen this, and we've talked about it.
Yep.
Could you share a little about what you see changing with customer expectations as well, what you've observed over the last year as part of your looking at customer experiences?
Absolutely. I mean, look, I'm a lifelong learner, and I think I learn as much from great experiences as I learn from not so good experiences. And in fact, in many ways, I think not so good experiences teach you. They teach you what not to do. So I have an example, a less than stellar example for you, Andrew, a dream turned nightmare situation. It started with a dream. And the dream was to convert our home into solar. And I was very excited about this. We started working with this company whose name I shall not name, okay? They have a fantastic product. We were excited. We were happy to be going on this sustainable journey with them. It's turned into a nightmare. Now, 12 months after we started this project, we still don't have solar going back into the grid. And here I was trying really hard to give them my business, and they're trying really hard to give me the experience of talking to every single person within this company. You know what I call it? I call it the deluxe transfer package. You know it, right? I've now been transferred and connected to more people within this company than the number of people I had in my small town back in India. And it's quite painful. And what is ironic about this is that I am trying to lean into the future with solar, yet I'm dealing with a customer experience that's stuck in the past. And what I have observed and learned from this is that companies that grow very rapidly, they end up in silos. They end up in very disconnected places where they therefore expect me, the customer, to become the bridge across their systems, the departments and the people, and that lends to a really poor customer experience. And so for all of you customers out there, as you're thinking about this, the one thing I would share is that always look at it from the customer perspective, not from a function or department perspective. And that's certainly something that we think about deeply here at HubSpot.
Yeah, it sounds like a real abuse of power, Yamini.
Okay, that's funny.
Brian, if I may, you mentioned being an anthropologist, right? Could you
amateur, by the way.
Amateur anthropologist, but an anthropologist nonetheless. If you could put that hat back on for just a moment and discuss about some of those patterns that you mentioned and Yamini kind of mentioned, and kind of extrapolate from that into the future of HubSpot and future of HubSpot CRM.
Yeah. You know, I think of HubSpot, Andrew, and it's really two chapters in HubSpot. Chapter 1, the aha Dharmesh and I had was that humans were sick and tired of being marketed to and really good at blocking it out.
Yep.
And we created a new methodology for them inbound. And then we created a marketing app to help them match the way they marketed to the way people buy. A couple of years ago, we had really our second aha, and it's just like Yamini's story. People are sick and tired of cringe-worthy customer experiences. It's not just limited to marketing, it's the entire end-to-end experience. And so we created a new flywheel methodology, and we moved from a marketing app to a CRM platform. And that's ongoing, it's going extremely well, but that's what HubSpot's up to. We are building a very modern, customer-in, legit CRM platform for scaling companies. And we're just getting started. It's going to be really good.
Got it. And clearly CRM is a space in which we play and we think a lot about.
Yep.
Can you share a little bit, Yamini, about about HubSpot's approach to CRM and how that might be evolving?
Look, I think Brian put this very eloquently. There is a whole massive shift that's happening towards the buyer.
Yeah.
Buyers want low friction. They want consumer-like experiences that are end-to-end. And therefore, the way we are approaching CRM is changing.
Yeah.
It's much more about buyer empowerment, not about seller enablement. I started in CRM a couple decades ago, and at that time, if I needed to call a customer, I actually pulled out a contact card, that's what it was called back then, and I would dial, and that was it was back then. And so that is what customer relationship management meant, and it was for me, the seller, way back then. I think CRM has changed so dramatically. Right now, you don't have a customer that is calling you. They visit your website, and that could be the front door into your company. Or they could, without even talking to any human within the company, they could download a free trial of your product, and they can actually experience your company and your product through that. Or pretty late in their buyer's journey, they may do the more traditional thing and call a rep. It is about making that journey great. So CRM is now all about providing something that is connected, that can delight the customer in the journey that they take with you. And as Brian mentioned, that's been our chapter 2. That's what we've been focused on. We're really laser focused on that buyer empowerment, not seller enablement. And we're really focused on having that magic, creating that magic companies can provide for their customers.
I love that. The magic. That's
Magic.
what we're focused on.
I like
right.
Dharmesh's customer relationship magic system. I might
Like
stick.
I might stick.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. And speaking about some of the magic, we heard a series of really exciting new product announcements.
Yes.
Right. I'd love to hear about your thoughts on those and what particularly excites you about HubSpot's product feature.
Well, Andrew, as a parent,
Yeah.
I always get asked, who's my favorite son, and I never fall into the trap. So I am not going to fall into that trap. And I think we've had some amazing product announcements and launches today. They're all very exciting. But I will highlight 3, which I think are going to have the most impact for our customers. The first one is HubSpot Payments. This is big. B2B buyers have a long way to actually catch up to providing a very customer-centric buying experience. Think about your latest Amazon purchase or my Chewy purchase, your Warby Parker purchase. So our vision is to help B2B companies sell touchlessly to their customers, and we want to be able to do that. And we also want to make that rep-assisted selling motion, the last leg, the last mile of that sales process, just smoother. And so HubSpot Payments that we launched today, and it's an open beta, that's going to be the first step in helping our customers sell to their customers online. And so that's pretty exciting. I think the second I have to talk about is Ops Hub Enterprise. That's another huge one. Now, this ops persona, we call it the revenue ops persona, they are really critical in go-to-market organizations. And they are like the unsung heroes with capes because they're asked to do so much. Their job is to provide great insights to the VP of marketing, to the VP of sales, to the VP of customer success. And we want to empower them with the right tools and the right insights. And earlier this year, we launched Operations Hub Starter and Pro. And that allowed these operations professionals to get all of the data from their entire tech stack right into HubSpot and also automate the workflow. So in November, when we launch Operations Hub Enterprise, it's going to be all about reporting. What do you do when you have the data and when you have the workflows? You start driving insights out of it. And so we're squarely focused on reporting and squarely focused on data. And I'll tell you, as a former operations professional, I'm just like giddy with excitement. It is going to be so powerful for these folks. The last quick one, I'll make it really quick, is Service Hub Customer Portal. This is going to streamline the communication between companies and their customers. Customers are now going to be able to look at all of the interactions that they're having with the company. Simple, powerful, streamlined. So I'm very excited about all of these announcements that we made today. And it really takes a massive leap forward in terms of offering a connected, customizable, customer-centric CRM that's going to help scaling companies a lot.
I love it. I agree with all that. HubSpot's product organization is on fire these days, and we're just getting started. There's much more coming. It's really impressive what they're doing.
Yeah, clear path to customer magic, right?
Yes.
Excited. Yeah.
You're talking about the product organization being on fire, and this is just getting started. Can you share a little bit more as you think about what the future of HubSpot CRM it may look like?
Yeah, you know, I've been watching the CRM industry literally since 1990. I remember my first sales job out of school installing with floppy disk a contact management system to track contacts. So that was my first use of it. But I purchased CRM many times. I've implemented CRM. I've used them all. And you know, there's a tried and true playbook for how you build a CRM company. And it basically goes like this, Andrew. Like, you start with SFA, you get a little bit of traction, and then you start acquiring and cobbling and cramming and gluing and taping together tens of acquisitions, and that's how you build out your CRM suite. And that's how the industry has gone. That's how a lot of people think we should go. And I get a lot of advice, like, why aren't you just buying your way to a CRM suite? And the whole industry is zigging, we're zagging. We're not gonna follow what the big CRM vendors are gonna do. We're gonna follow there's a little company in California. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. They're called Apple. Yeah. And we're going to follow Apple. What I love about Apple is it certainly scales, internet scale, but it's just such a gorgeous customer experience and such a gorgeous user interface. You unpack it and then you just feel something different. You connect it to the other devices, feels different. You use it, it feels different. And so we are crafters. You know, Apple crafts those products with love. That's what we're doing. We're crafting a CRM product in-house with love from the ground up. And I think our customers are gonna love it. Our partners are gonna love it. I think it matches the time. And if you're a normal company, I think you should buy it. Now, I will say this, I'll caveat it. If you're Walmart or you're like Delta Airlines, maybe you should buy one of those franken systems. You know, if you have like 100 developers sitting around with nothing else to do, and you have millions of dollars, a pile of money with nothing left to do with it, feel free, go and use one of those. But if you're a growth company and you want to get after it and build a modern customer experience, I feel like we're building exactly what those companies need. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and we're building it by being Ziggy craftspeople.
We're Ziggy craftspeople.
Ziggy
That's right.
craftspeople.
I like that. I like that.
Now, before we come to a close, I just want to acknowledge the difficult time that it's been for a lot of people, right? It's been a difficult year, a difficult couple of years. I know each of you has had your own challenges. I've had my challenges. And with those come lessons and life lessons. And I want to ask if there are any life lessons that you'd want to share with the folks listening. Start with you, Brian.
Sure. Mine's very personal. Back in February, as you mentioned, I had this terrible snowmobile crash, and I was lying in the snow, not confident that I was going to live. And in running through my head was a Dalai Lama quote, and I'll probably get the quote wrong, but it goes something like, live a good and honorable life so you can enjoy it when you're an old person. And as I was running the tape of my life sort of through my head or the movie, HubSpot's a relatively large part of my movie. And I feel like we've built a good and honorable company. I'm proud of it. So I look back favorably on it. I think the Dalai Lama would have liked what I saw. But now that there's 7 months apart from that, or I guess it's 8 months, and I'm healthy now, I just look at it as like, there's so much more work to do to achieve our mission. Our mission is we want to enable millions of companies to grow better. Our mission isn't to enable thousands of companies to grow, it's millions to grow better in a modern, awesome way. And so lots more work left to do. The second thing I would say, and a lot of people at HubSpot know this about me, but I have my own personal mission. And you two are sick of me talking about this, but my own personal mission is I hope to build a company that my eventual grandkids, decades from now, will be so proud about that they're bragging about it to all their friends. And that underlies a lot of my decisions. It underlies a lot of the long-term perspective we take on things. It underlines the zagging instead of zigging. It's an important part of sort of my DNA when I think about the company. And so I hope when I'm an old, cranky, anthropologist in my rocking chair that my grandkids are crowing about HubSpot, and I'm looking back at my life and feeling like I had an honorable and good life and that HubSpot's a big part of it. And I hope that for all of you out there watching, I hope that you can look back at your life and your career and feel like you had an honorable and good career that you're proud of and your grandkids are proud of. And my hope is that HubSpot can maybe play a little or even a big role in helping you do that to your career. So thank you to all of you who are HubSpot customers and users.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that, Brian.
Yep.
Really appreciate that. And Yamini, I'll ask the same question to you. Lessons learned.
Look, mine's personal too. I've had kind of a roller coaster ride, from the time I started in my dream job at HubSpot, January 2020. I think we hit the pandemic crisis mode literally 2 months.
2 months in, yeah.
2 months into my new job.
Yep.
And that was a pivot that we had to make. And then this spring, Brian obviously called me to take care of HubSpot so that he can recover from a life-altering accident.
Yep.
And then 6 months later, he came back in and asked me to be CEO. And 2 weeks after that, I suffered a personal loss. My dad passed away, and it was exceptionally emotional, and he's been a huge supporter. And life has been full of ups and downs. Well, the only way I get through tough times, and there will always be tough times mixed with great times, is to care deeply and persevere relentlessly. That's been my life lesson. Now, as soon as we got into the pandemic, there was an ocean of uncertainty. People worried about jobs, their health, lives, livelihood. So my job at that time was to remain calm and provide clarity to HubSpot's customers, partners, employees, and do it quickly, decisively, but more importantly, do it from a place of deep empathy and care. And that's what I did. And when Brian, you called, it was super emotional. And my first thought was, my God, I hope you're okay. I hope we give you all of the space for you to recover. And you've built this wonderful organization. We'll take care of HubSpot for you. And that's exactly what we did. We focused, and I have been relentless in terms of execution and driving HubSpot forward from there. And that's been my life lesson. And I will also say that's my commitment, that I will relentlessly pursue the vision that Brian and Dharmesh have for HubSpot, relentlessly focus on delighting our customers and building an organization that people are just excited and proud to work and get their best work done.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
That was good. That was really good close.
I just want to say thank you both.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you for spending time with us. Really appreciate the honesty, the candor, and hearing about both personal learnings and also thinking about the business as well, and all of our customers and the entire HubSpot community. And for all of you out there, thank you for spending time with us. Really excited about Inbound 2021, and hope to see you in person soon. Thank you, and enjoy the next couple days.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.